guess around $200,000, which is what you get by multiplying 400 by 12 by 110% by 40. Some know that that can't be right and adjust their guess upward, but never enough. Almost no one gets the correct answer. $2.5 million. People with a shaky grasp of exponential growth have been found to save less for retirement and to take on more credit card debt. Two roads to penury. A failure to visualize exponential blastoff can trap experts as well, even experts in cognitive biases. When COVID-19 arrived in the United States and Europe in February 2020, several social scientists, including two heroes of this book, though not Kahneman himself, opined that people were irrationally panicking because they had read about a gruesome case or two and got carried away by the availability bias and probability neglect. The objective risk at the time, they noted, was lower than that of the flu or strep throat, which everyone accepts calmly. The fallacy of the fallacy scolds. I've read this sentence a bunch of times. I don't understand it. I understand it grammatically. I just don't understand what's happening, so I'm not going to read this correctly. The fallacy of the fallacy scolds was to underestimate the accelerating rate at which a disease as contagious as COVID can spread. Because there's such a thing as the fallacy of the fallacy, and maybe he's calling it the fallacy of the fallacy scolds. Maybe that's a noun. But it's when we call someone out for a fallacy, but either we are wrong that their thinking was fallacious, or we are saying that just because they had that one fallacy that we are right. Anyway. Okay, the fallacy of the fallacy scolds was to underestimate the accelerating rate at which a disease as contagious as COVID can spread, with each patient not only infecting new ones, but turning each of them into an infector. The single confirmed American death on March 1 grew in successive weeks to 2, 6, 40, 264, 901, and 1,729 deaths per day, adding up to more than 100,000 deaths by June 1, and soon making it the most lethal hazard in the country. Of course, the authors of these obscure op-eds cannot be blamed for their insouciance, which lulled so many leaders and citizens into dangerous complacency, but their comments show how deeply rooted cognitive biases can be. Again, I don't like... Oh, gosh. Anyway, yes, we are composed of lots of its, and some of them don't yield good results. What do you mean how deeply rooted cognitive biases can be? It is literally the construction of the brain. There are lots of neural networks that just don't lead to good results. So if you want to imagine that as being a bias deeply rooted, okay, it's just integral. It's just a part of this. It's just the system. Some of these networks are good, have good yields, and some not as good yields. Some of them are adapted to the conditions that stimulate them, and some of them are actually not adapted to the things that stimulate them. So you've got things that, then you stimulate, give them certain conditions, it triggers them, and then they produce an output, but those aren't even adapted to the conditions that... Anyway, why do people misunderestimate exponential growth, as George W. Bush might have put it? In the great tradition of the physician in the Moliere play who explained that opium makes people sleepy because of its dormitive power, social scientists attribute the errors to an exponential growth bias. Less circularly, gosh, I hate the language. I hate it. I don't think of, oh yeah, these people are asleep, oh they've been conditioned, oh they've been brainwashed, that's why they don't see it, blah blah blah, oh they're not activating their thinking powers, blah blah blah. Anyway, less circularly, we might point to the ephemerality of exponential processes in natural environments. Yes, there we go. Okay, great. Sorry, yeah, it sounded like I was critiquing Pinker. I think I kind of was. Pinker, that was incorrect of me. So, less circularly, we might point to the ephemerality of exponential processes in natural environments prior to historical innovations like economic growth and compound interest. Things that can't go on forever don't, and organisms can multiply only to the point where they deplete, foul, or saturate their environments, bending the exponential curve into an S. This includes pandemics, which peter out once enough susceptible hosts in the herd are killed or develop immunity. So we did not evolve with mechanisms to understand exponential growth. That's all. But we can learn them.